Well, the Big D is back and a little bit and better than ever. I'm licking my paws after what happened yesterday, but we're back and recording. Before I bring in Alice, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page where sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, and sometimes we draw. Also, check out the Big D podcast for all the audio listeners, Spotify and Apple. So join in with us. The second member of the second member of the Miami Dolphins to beat me this week in all Jags Dolphins showdown. Must be you, Alex.
Hey Dylan, first off, apologies about yesterday, sir. It's definitely a tale of two halves, but we'll get into that a little bit. But pleasure to be back. Can't wait to talk over the week one recap and, of course, a little special uh, recap about our head to head and a nice little bet that I think you might be paying out for me in a couple minutes here.
Oh gosh, are we going to mention that again?
Oh, we're not only going to be mentioning it, buddy, you're going to be singing it.
And I'm not singing a cappella, right?
I mean, I can put it on in the background, or you can sing a cappella. As long as I hear those words come out of your mouth, that's good enough for me.
Okay, so today we are week one recap. So obviously everybody knows that Alex's Dolphins and my Jags played, and well, the first half it looked like Alex would be doing push-ups again.
Yeah, it sure did. As I kind of alluded to there, definitely a tale of two halves. It started out where, it was all Jacksonville. I mean, you guys jumped out to that 14-0 lead. Had it, 17-7 at half, I think. And it was definitely a humbling first half. I expected the Dolphins to come out firing a little bit better than that than what we saw in the first half there. But they definitely turned it around. Some nice second half adjustments and some big time plays by some of our big time players to flip the script in the second half.
You know what's weird? Usually you would think two in the passing game, but Miami's running game went nowhere throughout
Yeah.
much of the game. Like I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about Miami Dolphin running backs, you think of Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. But what you don't think about is Jeff Wilson, who ended up being the Miami Dolphins' leading rusher yesterday with a total of 26 total yards. But a couple of those runs, man, were really clutch, especially down the stretch. A special shout out to Alec Ingold. He only had 2 carries for 8 yards, but boy, were those two big carries picking up some crucial third down conversions. And the guy runs hard, man. Him and Jeff Wilson, they're not the names and the name and lights kind of guys that you see out of a star-studded offense there. But Dolphins wouldn't have won that game yesterday without those two guys.
Yeah. Everybody loves the old fullback dive play. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's sometimes you got to think simple, keep it simple, and it definitely worked out. But like you said, I mean, the rushing game was, I mean, total 81 yards, and that's a combination of Jeff Wilson, Achane, Tua had an 11-yard run, Mostert couldn't get anything going, Waddle had a 3-yard rush, so it wasn't the explosive, speed demon that offense, at least from the running back position, that I think a lot of people expected from that Miami Dolphins running room, but. We definitely saw some speed on the field with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill catching in some long passes.
by the way, if anybody would have said Tank Bigsby would have been the leading rusher in this game, I bet you people would have said, "Yeah, you're crazy, right?"
Absolutely. I mean, he looked good. I mean, he definitely looked better in ETN. He looked like the best running back in the game, and on many different occasions.
I mean that's saying something because every time I saw Tank Bigsby play last year, it was ending up in our backfield.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it was just, he was feeling something that day. He was catching the holes better than ETN was, but or any running back in that game, on both sides of the ball. But it was a very efficient day. I mean, 12 carries, 73 yards, 6.1 average. That's what you're looking for out of any running back. So, it's got to be at least a little promising, to have Tank to know that Tank Bigsby has that in his locker. Obviously, I think with the same amount of carries, almost doubling up Travis Etienne isn't exactly what Jaguars fans are looking for. But obviously, the ball security is another question mark there as well. But that's something we can talk about in a second too.
Oh God, not that, please. But you know what disappointed me yesterday was that Jackson didn't move the ball, particularly in the second half. I mean, Jackson's offense was stuck in neutral. I mean, Evan Ingram only caught one pass. Christian Kirk only caught one pass. I mean, but Thomas and Davis both caught. That Thomas caught four and Davis caught three. But Jackson only threw the ball 21 times,
Yeah.
which in today's NFL, unless you're the Chargers or Ravens, sounds different, right? It sounds like what we saw in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah, and unfortunately, for you guys, only 12 of those passes were completed. I mean, it definitely wasn't a statistical masterclass by Trevor, but by any means. I will say, I think he looked a little bit better than his stat line says. I will. I mean, that throw to Brian Thomas in the corner of the end zone was on the money. I mean, I will give Trevor credit for that pass. I mean, he put that in the only place where BT could have made that catch. But some consistency that I saw throughout that game was, man, it seemed like every one of those 12 passes, other than excluding that touchdown, seemed like the receivers were wide open. I mean, it didn't. I didn't see a whole lot of Trevor threading the needle other than that touchdown pass. It seemed more a little bit either the receivers getting separation or blown coverages on the defensive side of the ball. Because I saw quite a few passes where it's Jaguars fans, and I'm like, where is the guy who's supposed to be covering this guy? He's got 3-4 yards of separation. Like, that shouldn't be happening. But it just wasn't. You can't score 0 points in the second half of an NFL game and expect to get a victory. I mean, at the end of the day, crucial turnovers on the Miami side of things. I mean, that Travis Etienne fumble, thanks to Javon Holland's punch. I mean, I think everyone knows that changed, obviously changed the momentum of the game. The very next play, too, it goes 80 yards to Tyreek Hill. And, I think Dolphins fans at that moment, after the fumble and after the touchdown, are thinking this is our game. And I can't speak for you, but I'm sure, after those two plays, Jaguars fans are starting to think we might be seeing this one slip away. So, I mean, definitely a huge momentum shift there. And, it just pays. You never know when in a game a play is going to make a difference. And I think, everyone will agree that Javon Holland punch out was pretty much the momentum shifter. I mean, if Jacksonville puts that in, it's 24/7, and that's a much steeper mountain to climb up.
Yeah, I mean, do you think Miami could come back from down 17, particularly with how Jacksonville played the first 2.5 quarters?
I mean, I'm never gonna doubt Tua after I saw what he did against Baltimore, throwing 4 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter. I mean, I think anything's possible after watching that game. I mean, that was the greatest comeback I've ever seen in the NFL. At least a little biased, but it definitely would have been tough. I mean, you guys would have had all the momentum, 24/7 in the second half. I mean, the Dolphins would have really had to put up a miracle to be able to come back from that. But fortunately for Dolphins fans and for the Dolphins players themselves, they didn't quite have to get to that point. But I'm curious, Dylan, something that both of our teams have seemed to struggle with, in the present day as well as in the past, offensive line issues. I mean, I want to know, what's your take? Do you think it's just, is it personnel? Is it, they just need more time to adjust, and you think it'll get fixed, as the season develops? What do you think is wrong with that Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line?
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, last year, it's been an issue. The offensive line's been an issue for years right now, and we've seen teams have crappy offensive win Super Bowls or get to Super Bowls with crappy offensive lines. Heck, the LA Rams darn near won last night Sunday Night Football without 3 or 4 linemen. The Cincinnati Bengals almost won a Super Bowl with maybe the worst offensive line I've ever seen in the big game.
Yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs won a Super Bowl without Joe Tooney and 2 real prominent starting tackles.
Yeah.
Jackson's offensive line's been bad, and yesterday didn't really see any improvement. I mean, Trevor might. People might want to poo-poo Trevor Lawrence, but on the last couple but on those sacks, he didn't have a chance. I mean, Arpa, Jalen Phillips, Calais Campbell. I mean, Calais Campbell was what, 58 years old.
I
I
was just
remember
about
him when he played for the Jackson Saxonville team of Arizona.
Yeah. No, I was just about to say. I mean, you guys let 38-year-old Calais Campbell get a sack on his very first defensive snap as a Miami Dolphins player. Obviously, the back-to-back sacks. I mean, I know it hurt to see, but man, was it exciting as Dolphins fans seeing Jalen Phillips get that sack in his game back after his Achilles injury last season. I mean, it was definitely, and like you said, Emmanuel Ogbah, a guy who we'd released this offseason and ended up bringing back after the Chubb injury. So it was a lot of really good storylines, on the defensive line side of things for the Dolphins, offensive line wise for the Jags, not so much. Obviously, those back-to-back sacks there late in the fourth quarter were kind of the nail in the coffin, I think. It got Miami the ball back and gave us really the opportunity to put that game away. And, definitely something the Dolphins fans are used to when it comes to, a banged up offensive line or just not a very good offensive line. But it's something you can overcome. I mean, it's, as you said, there's been teams who can overcome it. It's definitely a tough task. But, it's not necessarily a season killer. It's just something that you got to work around.
Oh, yeah, and we get Miles Garrett next week. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
By the way, the biggest story of that game wasn't the game itself, and what took place before the game with a certain wide receiver.
I mean, everyone knows Tyreek Hill goes fast. I think most people are thinking when it comes to wearing cleats, not necessarily in his Lamborghini, but it was definitely disappointing to see, from the Miami-Dade Police Department and, just the whole situation in general. I mean, you never want to see, especially right outside the stadium, he's an NFL player. I saw so many people saying Scotty Scheffler 2.0. And it really did.
What I was thinking because we remember when police arrested Scotty Scheffler before the second round of the PGA in Louisville.
Yeah. And, right when I saw that happen, I was like, I know Tyreek, he's a competitor. He's gonna use this as fuel. And I don't know, man. It sure didn't look like he was gonna be able to get to the end zone on that 80-yard play. And he sure turned on the extra afterburners. And I'm wondering if he had a little extra motivation to make sure he got that ball into the end zone.
Maybe turn that V8 up to Mach 2.5.
Something like that. I mean, it's unbelievable the level of greatness that Tyreek Hill can bring to a team and just the level of player he is. It's crazy to me. I almost think that career-wise Tyreek Hill is underrated because it's just I don't think we've seen something like him in the National Football League, and I think he is a player that is going to go down as one of the greatest ever, and not only at the receiver position, but just one of the most dynamic football players that I think this game has ever seen. It's uncoverable, and it's to the point to where you don't stop him. You just hope that you can do enough to overtake him on the other side of the football, because it's something special, that's for sure.
And by the way, throwing Jalen Water in Miami might have the fastest duo, or one of the fastest duos I can remember. I mean, maybe when Marquise Brown gets healthy, Kansas City might give you a run for your money.
Yeah. But no, it's definitely, Mike McDaniel knows what he's doing with his shiny toys, and I really think having those guys is so important to the offense. It fits Tua as a quarterback so well. It fits Mike McDaniel's scheme so well, and you add in a couple different speedsters at the running back position, and it's an offense that as long as they stay healthy throughout the season and play up to their potential, games like that are important. I mean, when you have a chance to play a good football team, I mean, Jacksonville, I've got high expectations for you guys. I don't think that this is, necessarily a deal breaker for your season. Unfortunately, you didn't finish the game out, but those are the kind of games that the Dolphins have struggled to win in the past, and I'm really happy that they were able to pull it out yesterday because who knows? I mean, we'll see where Jacksonville's sitting at the end of this season. I'd like to say that we beat a good Jacksonville Jaguars football team yesterday. I'm sure you'd like to think the same thing. So, it'll be interesting to see what that narrative tells at the end of the season.
Uh, quickly, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yesterday's win's big, but Thursday night's game against the Bills becomes twice as big now because, I mean, I'm sure you'd rather it be a day game in Miami, but if you win against Buffalo, you're 2-0.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a huge game. I mean, we knew from the second that the schedule dropped that week 2 is a day that was, I guarantee you, one of the first circles on the calendar on Mike McDaniel's desk. I mean, you know how important it is to beat Buffalo. It's something that we haven't been able to do in the past couple seasons, especially when it matters most. So, it's very interesting to see a week 2 game with this much meaning, but having this game in Miami, like you said, you don't necessarily get the sun advantage since it is a primetime game, but it's early enough in the season. I mean, Buffalo looked good yesterday. I'll tell you one thing: if Miami plays like they did in the second half for all 4 quarters on Thursday, we definitely have a good chance to win that football game. If they play like they did in the first half, we don't stand a chance.
Oh, by the way, everybody said Josh Allen would misstep things. I think he scored 4 touchdowns yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, Buffalo had some work to do too. I mean, Arizona put up a really good fight against them. I know that they were winning, pretty late in that game as well. And I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, but it definitely seems like they had to put up a fight to win that game. Obviously, Josh Allen put the Bills on his back. That's what he does best. And it's going to be a great matchup, like it always is. Ever since these two guys entered the league, it's always been exciting games. And I can't wait for Thursday to see the next installment, the Miami Buffalo rivalry.
Maybe you hope that the Bills cramp up because the last time the Bills played a road game in September, the Bills didn't necessarily brain freeze, but more or less self-destructed a couple of times.
Yeah, that Hard Rock Sun, it's a tough one, but it's not going to be out, but on Thursday night. But hopefully, the bright lights at Hard Rock Stadium will do the same thing, and I think it's going to be a good game. I don't see a blowout one way or another. I think it's going to be close down the stretch, and it could very well be the last team to have the ball wins that football game.
Oh no, not this, please.
I think we're not going to spend this whole episode talking about this game. So instead of pushing this off to the end, I think we're going to get this knocked out right here and now, Dylan. We had a friendly wager, and I think it's safe to say that the Miami Dolphins have covered my spread, I guess you can say. And as your punishment, Dylan, and I cannot wait for this. If the people watching and listening at home don't know, I don't even care about the other stuff of the bet. I know you bought that Dolphins Gatorade towel. I appreciate your sincerity there, but this is what I was really looking for out of this result. Mr. Dylan, the Big D himself, for the people, will be performing the Miami Dolphins fight song, and I cannot wait for this. So, Dylan, whenever you are ready, I am ready for you, and I can't wait.
Wait a minute. Technically, the Jags covered yesterday.
They covered the spread, but we sure didn't bet the spread, did we? This was straight up, and I said spread because we had a couple other legs of this bet going, which like I said, I'm not too worried about those. This is really what I was. This is what I was in it for.
All right, Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. When the air, on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Because we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
All right, Dylan. Thank you, sir. That was beautiful. I really hope that is the Twitter video that you post to get people to watch this video, because I think you'll get a lot of clicks off of that. And if not, send it to me because I need a copy of that myself.
Oh gosh, what am I doing
here? Well, thank you, Dylan. I appreciate you honoring that part of the bet, and it could have been a lot worse. I think you got off easy.
Yeah. At least I didn't throw 18 pick sixes yesterday.
That is true.
Um. Okay, what next?
Well, let's see. Let's move on. There was definitely a lot of good performances yesterday, but there's a couple people in this league and a couple teams in this league that sure did quite the opposite. We're specifically talking about the quarterback position. And there's a couple names that jump off the page when you look at stat lines and just overall performance from this weekend that, some of them are making a lot of money, some of them aren't making as much money. But what's the same for all of these guys is they sure did not perform, and they left a lot more question marks than they left answers coming out of week one. So I think first place to start, um, I don't know if you have a preference. Let's go with the Tennessee Titans. They have a certain quarterback by the name of Will Levis. Will Levis threw 19 completions on 32 attempts, 127 yards, one touchdown, and two interceptions, one of those being quite possibly one of the saddest interception and pick sixes I've seen as a fan of the NFL. If anyone didn't see it, Will Levis is just sitting on the floor with his hands on his helmet, just thinking, what did I do? I got to know, Dylan. I mean, as far as this Tennessee Titans team going up against a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams, is there any saving Will Levis, or are the Tennessee Titans going to be looking for a new quarterback?
Tennessee's going to be looking for a new quarterback. I don't think there's any question. I mean, Will Levis, if anybody's seen the World's Strongest Man, Will Levis looks like he should be on the World's Strongest Man, not throwing passes. I don't want my quarterbacks being jacked. Yeah, Josh Allen's big, but he's not muscular. Pat Mahomes has got a Dak bod.
Yeah.
Will Levis looks like he's been hanging out. He's been hanging out on Venice Beach with all those Mr. Universe guys. I mean, Will Levis is simply too big and too muscular for the quarterback position. And in today's NFL, it's not about the strength you have. It's not about how big you are. It's what you can do at a football play. I don't care if you're Drew Brees, Josh Allen, Peyton Manning. Can you throw the ball? And Will Levis has not been able to throw the ball, whether it was at Penn State, Kentucky, or now in Nashville.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, this Tennessee Titan team's got a lot of talent. I mean, they added Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, Tony Pollard. I really like the position. Plus, DeAndre Hopkins still there. I like a lot of the weapons in Tennessee. Will Levis just sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going with it too. Is it's not like there's a lot of bad quarterbacks who play on bad teams, and it's like, okay, like is this guy really that bad, or does he just not have the weapons? Did they not do enough to surround him with enough talent? But I mean, you just listed off some names. I mean, they brought in Tony Pollard to replace Derrick Henry. He had a decent day, 82 yards rushing, 16 carries, and a touchdown. But then you look at the receiving core. I mean, Calvin Ridley, 3 catches, 50 yards. I mean, half of that was on one play. Tyler Boyd, who shouldn't be leading stat lines when it comes to wide receiver rooms in 2024, in my opinion, is second up there with 18 receiving yards. DeAndre Hopkins, 1 catch for 8 yards on one target. I mean,
Now, I will say this: DeAndre Hopkins was limited coming back from a knee injury, but he's
right.
still now.
Exactly, and even Chris Okonkwo. I mean, he's got talent on that team, and at the end of the day, I mean, this is a team that theoretically, with the pieces that they have, should be performing better. But it comes down to the quarterback position, and I think Will Levis made enough plays last season to keep his job, but it sure doesn't look like he's going to be keeping it for much longer.
I mean, Will Levis just doesn't look like a quarterback.
Yeah.
And you know who else may be becoming one of the biggest NFL draft bucks in recent time? And I don't mean in canon. I mean the other quarterback bust, and that's Bryce Young.
Yeah.
I mean, and yesterday in the game, I thought the Panthers were going to win against the Saints. Carolina didn't just lose. The Saints spanked them.
Yeah.
47-10. Wait a minute, 47-10. The Saints scored on 9 straight possessions. I don't know about you. 9 straight scoring on 9 straight possessions. Uh, That's okay, right? Unless you're the defense or the other quarterback, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be happy with that.
Yep.
Yeah,
But right now, is Bryce Young a product of going to the worst owner in football, or is Bryce Young simply becoming a draft bust? Because everybody's going to compare him to C.J. Stroud, and I thought Bryce Young was better at Alabama than C.J. Stroud at Ohio State. But we know Alabama quarterbacks, maybe outside two now, have done their proof under Nick when transitioned from Nick Saban to the NFL. And maybe Bryce Young just the next Alabama quarterback to stink in the NFL.
yeah. I mean, I think it definitely has to be leaning more to him being a bust. I mean, you can't throw 30 passes and have 13 completions at the end of a football game. I mean, I don't care who your teammates are. I don't care who your receivers are. You should be able to play with college receivers and be able to complete more than 13 passes on 30 attempts. It's just, he threw the 2 picks. He took 4 sacks. It was just an uninspiring, disappointing smacking from a team who I think, as you said, you predicted them to win that game. I mean, I don't see the Saints as a powerhouse of the NFL. I don't know about you, at least not in 2024. And to not only allow them to score 47 points, but only to put up 10 points against them. I mean, it screams bad quarterback play to me. I mean, you look at the stat line. The stat line's ugly. But just watching him, he just doesn't seem like he has the poise of what you're looking for a starting quarterback in the NFL. I mean, is it too early to call him a bust 18 games into his NFL career? Possibly, maybe. I think we've seen crazier things happen and players turn it around. But I think far too many times we've seen bad quarterbacks continue to be bad and bad quarterbacks turn it around and be good. And from what I've seen out of Bryce Young from last season and what we saw from him yesterday, he's got a lot of work to do to get that bust title, off of his name, especially as one of the top picks in the NFL draft.
And honestly, maybe Bryce Young's small. Maybe he went to the worst owner in sports. But simply, if you're the number one pick, there's expectation on you. And maybe C.J. Stroud ended up with the right team because I don't know about you, but the Houston Texans, and this coming from a fan of an AFC opponent, look like Super Bowl contenders. The Carolina Panthers look like toilet bowl contenders.
Yeah. Now you hit the nail on the head. I mean, no one expected the Houston Texans to be any sort of a good team. I mean, last season. I mean, I could see people who would have been high on the Texans maybe giving them 9 wins last year, and that's overachieving for the standards that we had for the Texans. Look at what CJ Stroud did. Now they've got Stephon Diggs, who made a big entry into Houston yesterday. It's just a whole completely different script in Houston. Carolina, I will definitely say, Houston has a better roster than Carolina. I'm not going to say that they don't, but the difference in play that we're seeing between CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, I mean, it looks like one's a 6th-round quarterback and one's a 1st-round quarterback, not one pick apart.
You comparing Bryce Young to Tom Brady?
I am definitely not. I guess I should have said 7th-round pick and no, I'm not comparing him to Brock Purdy either.
Hey, I mean, Tom Brady debuted in the Fox booth yesterday.
Yeah, and that didn't go very well either. I think we finally found the first thing that Tom Brady is not very good at.
Or having a long relationship with. No, wait, never mind. I'm not going to with women.
Right. You said it.
Yes, I did. All right, you've got a question for me.
I sure do, Dylan. There are 2 quarterbacks in particular, continuing the theme of bad quarterbacks this weekend and even longer than this weekend. There are 2 quarterbacks who had abysmal performances yesterday, and they're not Will Levis and Bryce Young. We've already touched on those. The difference between these 2 guys is these guys have looked terrible, and they're making a lot of money to look terrible. I want to know, Dylan, which franchise made the worst contract mistake? The New York Giants paying Daniel Jones or the Cleveland Browns paying Deshaun Watson?
Oh, it's 100% the Cleveland Browns paying Deshaun Watson because I guarantee you this. The Cleveland Browns are probably stuck with Deshaun Watson for the foreseeable future. I mean, if you look at it, I'm looking here on Spot Track. Uh, 2024 dead cap, 119 million, 93 in cash. 2025, 80 million. And 20 for the cut Deshaun after 24 crowd, 118 million in dead cap, 92 million cash, 26 dead cap, 53 million. For the cut Deshaun after 25 crowd, 72 mil in 26, 46 million in cash, and 26 million dead cap in 27. The Cleveland Browns can't cut Deshaun Watson because I mean we saw what the Broncos did with Russ. It's gonna put the Browns in salary cap. You know what?
Yeah, I mean, I think for those reasons alone, the Browns and Deshaun Watson have to be the answer. The one counterpoint I'll make to that is at least the Cleveland Browns were purchasing an asset that from all
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. By the way,
yeah,
I'm looking on the website.
mhm.
The Browns are 36 million over the cap right for 2025.
Jeez. Oh gosh. I mean, that is just not what you want to hear when you're tied down to
You
a
could
quarterback.
you could probably guess who number one is right now because they're always like 90 something million over the cap.
Um, I can't remember.
The Saints.
I was gonna say the Saints, but I thought it was I don't know. I was thinking of someone else, but no, okay, that makes sense. But I mean, but as I was saying, the only counterpoint I can see to that, and yes, I mean the Browns have completely ruined themselves financially. It is a terrible decision, not only to give such a heavy contract to Deshaun Watson, but with his allegations and all of the behind the scenes stuff going on. I mean, it is the most head scratching decision that we've seen. The only counterpoint I'll make to this is at least the Cleveland Browns, in their eyes, I could see how a franchise who's had historical downfalls at the quarterback position were buying a what they thought was proven commodity. I mean, we saw Deshaun Watson with the Houston Texans. We know that his ceiling at one point in his career was what at one time top 3 quarterback in the NFL, top 5 quarterback maybe at his height. So I can see the thought process there. The New York Giants, however, I don't know if they weren't watching if their GM and their front office staff just weren't watching Giant games, which I wouldn't really blame them because who would want to watch Giant games? But how you give Daniel Jones that big of a contract with the lack of success that he's provided with,
I mean,
yes,
I mean, New York paid Daniel Jones off 2 performances against the New York Giants, and by the way, the Giants couldn't stop. Excuse me, the Vikings couldn't stop a nosebleed that year.
yeah, it's just and that's the only counterpoint I'll make is at least I mean, both teams have screwed themselves. The Browns might be in a worse spot financially, but it's almost more head scratching to me that the Giants would pay Daniel Jones when I think everyone knew that this guy was not a good quarterback. I mean, mediocre at best. Like, yeah, he's got some mobility, I guess, but I mean, it's just not. He's not a good quarterback. At least the Browns were giving money to someone who they thought was still a good quarterback. He just kind of fell off the map. So that's the only counterpoint I make. I mean, financially speaking, yes, I definitely agree. The Browns, are in a worse spot, but it's just extremely head scratching to me that the Giants would actually want to give Daniel Jones that amount of money after seeing what they had.
By the way, since Daniel Jones has gotten that contract, he has thrown 2 touchdown passes to Giant players. and he has thrown 3 touchdown passes to the other team.
Yeah,
How
it's
do you
just
throw more pick sixes than touchdowns to your own teammates?
yeah. I have no idea. It's just he's just bad. I mean, people call him Danny Dimes. You may as well call him Danny Pennies because I mean, the Giants need to make a change. Yeah,
He's stealing dimes, pennies, or whatever currency you want to use. Pesos,
yeah,
Bitcoin.
yeah. Any currency, the Daniel Jones is taking it from the New York Giants. He'll take it any size or shape at this point. Actually, Ian Rappaport just announced 34 minutes ago that Kadarius Toney is signing with the Cleveland Browns. So
Oh, God.
maybe that'll help Deshaun Watson turn things around. I doubt it, but you never know.
Oh, gosh.
Jeez. Oh gosh.
Oh, by the way, the backup quarterback, James Winston's the backup quarterback in Cleveland.
Yeah, and honestly, it might be an improvement based on what we saw from Deshaun Watson yesterday. I mean, I really thought, and here's the thing: is the Cleveland Browns they've got a lot of potential with that roster. I mean, there's a lot of talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But obviously Nick Chubb is going to be missing the majority of the season, and you don't have that element. But they have some good backs behind him, Jerome Ford especially. It's just it just looks like Deshaun Watson is a completely different person than where he was with the Houston Texans. And, it's got to be frustrating as a Browns fan, I will say, because, trust me, as a Dolphins fan, I've been through the ringer when it comes to, having quarterbacks who don't work out. And, I think that this was probably the best chance that they've had in, I don't know, 20 years to have a decent quarterback. And it's just, even that is falling apart. I'm actually curious, Dylan, do you think do you think Deshaun Watson's fallen off a hill because he's just not a good quarterback anymore? Or is this some sort of curse that the Browns have? Because I mean, you look at Baker Mayfield, I mean, the guy couldn't do anything with the Browns, and now he's looking like I mean, he took over Tom Brady's job in Tampa, and he's looking great. I mean, he's still keeping the Buccaneers relevant. He's not, a top 5 quarterback in the league, but I mean, Baker Mayfield is quietly last season. I had him as my second quarterback in my Superflex league, and he would never disappoint me. And even this weekend, I mean, he's throwing the ball to Mike Evans. Like, yes, Mike Evans is probably a Hall of Fame receiver, but I mean, he leaves Cleveland, and all of a sudden, Baker Mayfield has had a career resurgence in Tampa Bay. Deshaun Watson leaves Houston, and the guy can't throw a football to save his life. I don't know if there's a curse or what's going on there, but Cleveland Browns fans must be really disappointed this Monday.
I think Cleveland Brown fans would want Joe Flacco in the center
Yeah,
over the show.
I mean that's got to be crazy. An unretired Joe Flacco was the best quarterback that they've seen in the last 2 decades. I thought being a Dolphins fan was bad.
Or Jags fan.
Yeah. Hey, you guys at least went to an AFC Championship game not too long ago.
True.
Yeah. I diverge.
Oh, we got one more thing to do.
Uh-oh.
We've got one more thing to do. We're bringing it back this week.
Oh, yes, we are. This was a segment that we had ran quite a few times, and it's always a fun way to let off some steam at the end of it. At the end of an episode, we're bringing it back for a Week 1 recap, and Mr. Dylan has a certain rant for us today, and I'm gonna let you have the floor, sir. What would you like to rant about after Week 1? There's plenty of things to pick from.
I want to rant about the worst coaching decision that we'll see maybe during the whole 2024 season by Antonio Pierce of the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the score was 16-10 midway through the fourth quarter, 4th and 1 on the LA 41-yard line. I don't know about you, Alex, but you've played enough video games. You've played Madden.
Yep.
When you ask Madden and it says on like 4th and 1 from the 41, what would it usually say?
Go for it.
Well, that's what I would think. I would think 95% of 98% of coaches would go for it in that circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what Antonio Pierce did?
He did
He
not go for it.
he punted the football like a coward.
Yep.
And then guess what happened? The Chargers scored a touchdown
Yeah.
and went up a dozen.
Yeah.
Antonio Pierce, that was you are an idiot. Why are you punting down 6 from the other team's 41-yard line? You've got you've got Zamir White, Alexander Madison, Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers. All you need is 1 yard, and you can continue the drive, take the lead. Instead, you punted back, knowing the Chargers could run out the last 7 or 8 minutes. Didn't you see Jim Harbaugh at Michigan? His teams would his teams could run out the last 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Instead, you give them the ball, and then all of a sudden the Chargers score a touchdown. The game's over.
It's crazy. And
William Pierce got the job because he was the substitute teacher. You remember back in school when the substitute teacher would come there and we all behaved?
yeah.
Antonio Pierce got the job because Josh McDaniels couldn't coach my youth basketball players in Tamarack, Florida. Shout out to Tamarack, Florida. My old peeps over there. But you know, Antonio Pierce is not a great head coach, and the Raiders have wasted Devontae Adams. I mean, they've got. I mean, I love Gardner Minshew, but he's not a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. They're wasting Devontae Adams, and I fear they're going to end up wasting Brock Bowers with this pampered misfit as a head coach.
Yeah, and I mean the biggest thing, I think analytics have to call you to go for 9.9 out of 10 times there, maybe even 10 out of 10 times. I mean, it just seems like it's the no-brainer decision. But then you factor in this piece, and I think this piece is very relevant. You are playing in the AFC West. You are playing an AFC West rival opponent. You also play against the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West. You are not going to be the Las Vegas Raiders are not going to be taking games from the Kansas City Chiefs. So then you look at the other teams in the division, the Broncos and the Chargers. You could probably beat the Broncos with a rookie quarterback this season. The Chargers have been a shell of what everyone has expected them to be ever since Justin Herbert has entered the league. Now they've got a brand new coach, a famed head coach, but it's still the Justin Herbert LA Chargers, and it's an in-division team. You have to take those opportunities to win those rivalry games, to win those divisional matchups when they come. You cannot be punting the ball on 4th and 1 in opponent's territory when you're losing a football game late in the fourth quarter and expect that. I mean, that's how you get the fans to turn on you. And the biggest reason why Antonio Pierce got that job is because the players loved him. The players went to upper management and practically begged for them to keep him as their head coach. But the easiest way to get fans and get the team to turn on you is making bad decisions in games that matter. And week 1, division rival, it's not the Kansas City Chiefs, so you actually stand a chance in the game and you punt the ball away and punt away the opportunity to get a 1-0 start on the season. It's just you've got 17 more weeks to play it safe. But on week 1, it's just a decision that is really mind-boggling, especially as a guy who, in my mind, Antonio Pierce has got to feel like he has to prove himself. I mean, he knows that these players went to bat for him to keep him on as the head coach. And if I'm Antonio Pierce, I'm thinking, okay, that definitely had a part to do with why I got this job. There might be a little bit shorter of a leash than just a head coach that a GM handpicked. So if I'm the head coach of a team that's not really expected to win a whole lot of football games, why not take that chance there? I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me to play it safe in week 1 against a division rival when you've got nothing to lose. So I'm totally on board with you there. I think it was a disaster class from the head coaching spot there. And, at the end of the day, that they deserve to lose the football game.
I mean, I know it's college. I watched the South Florida coach kick a field goal down 8 against Alabama from like the 5-yard line. I'm like, I don't I don't know about you, Matt. Alex, how good's your math?
It's good enough.
If you're down 8, you kick a field goal. How many points are you down?
5.
And you still can't tie or catch them or pass or beat Alabama if you kick it in the field goal.
Yeah. Yeah, it puts you in the same situation you're already in.
I mean, common sense would say go for it. You don't even have to look at the math.
Right. Yeah, there's not even analytics needed for that side of things. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what he would have been thinking there other than trusting his defense to get the ball back. But as you said, I mean, this is a Harbaugh team. And this is a team that just got rid of all of their wide receivers. I mean, what do you think they're going to do in that situation? They signed 3 running backs in the offseason. Everyone and their mother knows that this is a run first offense, and the opportunity to kill the clock and bury that game is, you just knew how that was going to end the second you see them bring on the punt
And by the way, did anybody see how many yards Justin Herbert threw for yesterday?
Yeah, not very many.
And I don't, yeah, because he's actually got the best head coach of his career. He doesn't have to throw the ball 57 times.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, J.K. Dobbins, he definitely, showed up and really balled out.
I
Biggest
don't
question mark
want,
with J.K.
I,
Dobbins is to stay healthy, but
I don't want J.K. Dobbins running 25 yards down the field, but that's okay.
yeah.
And by the way, I think the Chargers are going to be a playoff team. Maybe 1 or 2 wide receivers. I mean, heck, who knows? Maybe the Chargers give Kansas City a run for their money.
Yeah, I mean it's week 1 at this point. Everyone's gonna have their overreactions. Everyone's gonna have their underreactions. Some people are gonna be spot on with their reactions.
Yeah, if anybody got an early tight end, which both of us did quite often in drafts. I'm pulling up my hair.
Yeah, yeah. I mean and to be honest, the tight end position has been the most hair pulling, head scratching position in fantasy football over the last couple of years, but nothing like what we saw this weekend. I mean, in week 1, it's just if you drafted any tight end before the 8th round of fantasy drafts, you were probably sitting with 5 or fewer fantasy points this week. It was just a historic low for the tight end position across the league.
All right, Alex. Thanks for hopping on. Hopefully, the Dolphins win on Thursday night. Short week for you guys, and maybe my Jags will be rocking and rolling against the Browns.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Dylan. Again, sorry about the way things turned out yesterday, but I appreciate you honoring our proposal. It was great hearing you sing the Miami Dolphins theme song. And what can I say, man? Fins up.